Was genau ist das amerikanische Krieger-Ethos von Pete Hegseth? Verteidigungsminister Pete Hegseth betont die militärische Einsatzbereitschaft und das Krieger-Ethos.
Well, from day one at the Department of Defense, our overriding objectives have been clear. Restore the warrior ethos, rebuild our military, and reestablish deterrence. It all starts with restoring the warrior ethos. When President Trump asked me to take this job, he told me, well, one key thing, but really two. The first was, Pete, you're gonna have to be tough as shit. They're gonna come after you. Boy, he was not kidding about that one. This job requires a steel spine, and that's fine. My job's easy compared to what you do. We're doing the work on behalf of the American people and the American warfighter. But then the president, after he said that, went on to say, I need you and I want you to restore the warrior ethos in our military, full stop. And that's been my first priority since day one, is restoring the warrior ethos. It's one of the most fundamental of those three objectives. Again, humans, more important than hardware. Everything starts and ends with warriors from training to the battlefield. We are leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit. We're focused on lethality, meritocracy, accountability, standards, and readiness. That's why since Election Day, since President Trump was elected, recruitment and retention numbers are up historically. Attracting military service is something Americans have long been attracted to, but more so when they see leadership they want to follow. They want to be in disciplined formations that value them not for immutable differences, not for the color of our skin or gender, but because of honor and integrity and grit and patriotism. They want a meritocracy where they can work hard, make themselves better, kick ass, and rise up. They're looking for adventure, camaraderie, risk, danger. They want to push themselves and test themselves against others. They want to flourish in an environment that embraces hard work, discipline, and the warrior ethos. Special operators know a thing or two about all of those. I've experienced it firsthand across the world. I have had a chance to get up and do PT with the troops oftentimes when we're traveling. And some people think it's a novelty. It's not. It's always been a basic part of military service. You get up early, you get up, and you work out because we're going to be fit and we're not going to be fat. And even if the SecDef has a little bit of time to do it, every troop has an opportunity to do it. The problem is, it went from let's do PT with the troops to every special operations group in the world trying to smoke the SecDef. I find myself almost blacking out by the end of the workout and then having to hand out coins and try to stay right ways up. Appreciate that. You, this group, have long been the standard bearers of what it means to be an American warrior. An exclusive club where the cost of membership is commitment, toughness, courage, grit, paired with accountability, intelligence, and skill. At times, and this is a key thing and something we've seen firsthand, when the broader force has strayed from the path, has strayed from sanity, has strayed from standards, you have been keepers of the flame. So it's great to see so many outstanding leaders this morning who embody that warrior ethos. General Fenton, thank you for your courage, your determination, and your grit, showing your forces what right looks like. And of course, Command Sergeant Major Shorter, the real boss of SOCOM. Thanks for leading your troops and demonstrating that the U.S. military's strategic advantage lies in the strength, and it's true, of our NCO Corps. Like so many other SOF leaders, past and present, you have kept the flame of the warrior ethos burning bright. You know, in 1943, naval combat demolition units were preparing for the imminent invasion of Sicily. Lieutenant Commander Draper Kaufman compressed their physical training program into a demanding week known as Hell Week. Even with the demand to get many more sailors to the line more quickly, Lieutenant Commander Kaufman kept the standards high. Between 30 to 40% of students failed the program, but those who graduated were ready. Today, the standards remain high across special operations training programs, and I thank you for that. In fact, we're doing standards assessments across DoD, and we started at special operations, multiple accessions courses, and the report back from the Green Berets and the Army Rangers that we sent the Navy SEALs to those courses is standards still high, sir. We're heading out to other formations and basic courses to determine why those standards have dropped and to make sure they're raised. In this particular instance, it included the Navy's rigorous Basic Underwater Demolition School, or BUDS, which traces its roots to Lieutenant Commander Kaufman's training. As you know, it still features Hell Week. High expectations and high attrition. Soft, fat, easy, weak, mushy, and quitter are not the adjectives that attract these types of professionals. It's the opposite. And this will continue. We will never compromise. We cannot compromise on standards. Our standards will be high, and in combat formations, they will be gender neutral. Because the weight of a .155 round or a rucksack or a human being doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. All that matters is whether you are capable of executing that combat mission in front of you. I spent a lot of time in a town in Washington, D.C. where there's a deficit in one thing: common sense. I mean, that's why President Trump is so popular. That's why the American people responded. He leads with common sense. He's asked me to apply common sense. Our combat formations don't need to look like Harvard University. They need to look like killers, trained and skilled and prepared. The standards need to be high, and they need to be gender neutral, so that if you can do the job, you're in that formation, and if you can't, you are not. That is restoring the warrior ethos. And it's something we've seen across our formation that the troops are responding to. Morale, recruiting, retention, readiness, training, capabilities, responding to common sense and a back-to-basics approach. That's the warrior ethos. So we start there. Our second priority is rebuilding the military. And President Trump has declared and delivered on a generational investment, rebuilding our military much like Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s. Our goal is to put the best systems in the hands of our warfighters, because you, our warfighters, should never be in a fair fight. We're doing this by reviving our defense industrial base, reforming our acquisitions process, and rapidly fielding emerging technologies. Sure, Golden Dome for America is a part of that. The new 6th generation fighter, NGAD, F-47 is a part of that. B-21s are a part of that. But what we see today and what you see in your formations are the fielding rapidly emerging technologies, which are critically important, that help us remain the leader in the world for generations to come. Everyone here today, from SOLIC to the SOF Secretariat to SOCOM and every Special Operations Network, has a role to play in rebuilding our military. Special Operations Forces have long operated like a tech startup. You're agile and nimble, lean and lethal. You leverage innovation to get more capability, and you push the limits of technology and human performance in ways that conventional formations just cannot. You adopt advanced technologies early, you make them better, and then you help them spread to the rest of the joint force. You are willing to experiment and fail while learning from each failure and each success. We need you to keep doing that. I get a chance to see it with my own eyes when I travel. I see it in the reports that are sent up from General Fenton and others. That rapid fielding, that rapid iteration, that feedback loop is critical across the joint force. And this tradition of rapidly introducing trailblazing technology can be traced, to, of course, to soft World War II roots in the Office of Strategic Services. They developed briefcase radios, modified small arms, and more, which met wartime needs. Today, that means loitering munitions, AI-enabled targeting platforms, and new counter-UAS systems. I want to recognize and thank a few DoD pathfinders in these critical efforts. SOF AT&L and their expert team of teams led by Melissa Johnson, call sign Mojo, and the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate led by Gabe Ramos. With their rapid prototyping and innovative partnerships, these teams and others like them are moving out with a sense of urgency. While some in Washington talk about acquisition reform, and I'll tell you, there's plenty of white papers out there that'll tell you about acquisition reform. They are acquisition reform. So we want to thank our industry partners, many of which are here today, over 800 companies this year at SOF Week. You're an essential part of the Global Special Operations Network. I'm grateful that so many of you participate in the events this week to enable the SOF enterprise. You must know what we need, and we must know what you can build. And together we can broaden the boundaries of what is possible. Because as we rebuild the military, we have to unlock the creativity of our companies for our arsenal of democracy. Even though we're not a democracy, we're a republic, and we need to start teaching that in our schools again. Small comment. You know, it's the basic stuff they slip by us. The small lies they tell us. Those are the ones that grow in the minds of young people who then turn around and don't love their country. A huge part of ensuring we have a room like this full in the future is ensuring our kids and grandkids know why America is such a special place. What our founders gifted us 250 years ago. There's a reason we're going to have a big old Army parade on June 14th of 2025. It's because what we celebrate in this country is a reflection of what we value. There are a lot of vapid things to celebrate, plenty of reality shows and garbage music and stuff on Netflix. How about we hold up our special operations community? How about we recognize the Army and the Marine Corps of the United States at 250 years, the sacrifice of those men who stood on bridges 250 years ago and said, "We will live free." We have an incredible story to tell, if we're willing to tell it, and then if we're willing to raise young men and women willing and able to raise their right hand to defend this nation. Never compromise on what you believe and why. You rose your right hand, you raised it to defend our country and the Constitution. Know the why and share it with your kids and grandkids. Encourage them to serve. It was one of the challenges of the book I wrote before I had this job, The War on Warriors. I was asking myself the same question. Do I want to serve in today's military given what has happened to it? And I can tell you 100 days in, watching our commander-in-chief, what he has been willing to do, the common sense he has applied, the courage he has shown, I look forward to having a military that I would proudly ask my kids to join. I've got a 14-year-old boy. I look out. He's my oldest, and 13-year-old and 12-year-old. I'm fighting right now to create the kind of formations, to provide the kind of platforms that would serve them, should they have the courage to do exactly what all of you have done. So we need to continue to reward innovation, encourage creative solutions, move faster than ever before. As General Fenton points out, threats evolve now in hours, not in years. In fact, I saw a report this morning on the plane here that demonstrated our enemies are adapting in a matter of hours, not in a matter of years. Days if we're lucky. We can't and we won't fight today's opponent at yesterday's pace. When our opponents know that our military is armed with the most capable weapon systems known to man, wielded by skilled warriors with the will to prevail, they are less likely to challenge us on the battlefield. And that is the point. Which leads to our third objective: restore the warrior ethos, rebuild the military, and third, reestablish deterrence.